was developed to present information on educational programming throughout the Mount Washington Valley. My name is Bob Godomsky. I'm the Assistant Superintendent at SAU 9, and today's show is going to focus on utilization of technology in all of our schools. Joining me today will be a variety of educators talking about technology use at all levels of K-12 education. Starting off, I'd like to welcome Eric Culling, who is one of our technicians at Kennett Middle School. Eric, welcome.
Hi, Bob. Thank you.
Eric, can you start us off by just talking a little bit about what are some different types of technology that are being used in our schools?
Well, in our schools, over the last few years, we've been moving towards trying to get computing devices in the hands of every student in the buildings across the district, which has proven to be pretty successful. We also have LCD projectors and presentation devices in every classroom across the district, which gives our teachers the ability to present different means, different types of technology to their students in different ways. It's pretty exciting. And another thing we just recently started using, I mean, there's plenty out there, but one of them that we've recently started using are what we call a student response system. So the teacher would be up there in front of the classroom, maybe studying for a midterm or just studying for a quiz or just covering a part of her curriculum. The students would all have little remote clickers in their hands, and they can anonymously answer the questions that the teacher may be asking. This has been pretty cool, and the teachers are really loving that.
So it's infused right into the daily lessons, and it's very interactive with the students.
Yes, definitely, more and more, and that's the good part of it, because it's right up what the kids are liking these days, so they're loving that part of it.
Right, because most people think of technology and they'll think of word processing and things like that, and it's gone much beyond that as far as instruction in the classroom. It has.
As teachers are using websites, devices, it's really great.
Now, have the teachers been welcoming with that? Are they eagerly infusing it into their daily lessons?
Yes, they are, almost too much to a fault, because it's hard for us to keep up sometimes with the different demands that they may have with, programs they find, websites they find, devices they find. But we've been doing a great job keeping up with their demands and doing stuff. So yeah, I would say they're definitely enthusiastic and excited about it. They're finding a lot of great things out there.
But what a great dilemma that is.
It is. It's a nice dilemma to have.
So our hardware and the money that we've been spending on technology really is being utilized every day throughout the district.
It is. It's been a great benefit.
That's terrific.
Yep.
Now, could you educate me a little bit about cloud-based technology? What is it, and how are we using it, and what benefits do we get from that?
Well, cloud-based technologies, there's a lot going on right now in the industry with it, and there's basically a quick and easy way to tell you about it. Normally, in a corporate environment or in an educational environment, you have to host services, whether it's for printers, whether it's for file sharing, file storage, all of those things typically done in-house, and you have big expensive servers where you have to support all of this. With cloud-based technology, we're getting away from that with websites like Google and Google Drive and Dropbox, and there's a lot of other ones that we use where employees, teachers, students store documents online. They're not having to store documents on our resources. So now our money can be freed up to not support those large servers, to support terabytes of data, tons of data for the students. It's stored out on the cloud.
Right.
And there's a lot of benefits that come along with that. The kids can access it from home. I mean, my son would be at home working on a Google presentation that he has for social studies. He's doing it on a Thursday night at 7:30 from home on the couch with me. It's nice. It's a nice thing to have. He doesn't have to have access to it at school.
And with that, they can collaborate with their peers, they can collaborate with the teacher, they can do it all on the cloud. So like you said, it's a classroom without walls.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's great. There was some science fair work done this past month and more, and they do it every year with Rick Bechet. I'm sure he'll talk about it later on in the show.
Yeah.
They work with kids in Bartlett, right on the web. And It's great.
So there was one lesson that I saw last year where they were actually interacting with students from across the country. Like you said, they can interact with Bartlett, they can interact with people from California if they would like to. So it really extends that learning opportunity.
Right, and the collaboration piece is great.
Sure, absolutely. I know we've utilized it with curriculum development a lot, where we've got teachers who it may be impossible for us to get everybody in one room at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But if we do it with the cloud, with technology, somebody can work at it at 8 o'clock at night, somebody else at 7 o'clock in the morning, and still work on the same document. So it affords a little flexibility.
Right, it does, yeah. It doesn't matter when they go on and do their little piece. You don't
Sure.
have to be sitting there in front of them with it to do it, right?
Sure. Now we've been fortunate in Conway in that the voters have passed a $75,000 warrant article for a number of years. And I know that it's been really helpful in progressing our technology in the district. Could you speak a little bit about how we've benefited from that?
Oh, wow. I mean, firstly, I think I can speak for myself and all the staff around the district and all of us tech guys in the district that cover down on all the schools. It's been a tremendous boost. So, I mean, I'd like to thank the voters for that. It's great because it adds to our operating budget and we're able to do things above and beyond what we anticipated being able to do.
Sure.
Whether it's, you know, we had an incident with broken keyboards, we'd repair all of those, we'd have a pile of money to be able to do it with.
Right.
Or we'd come across with a new technology like those clicker systems I talked about. That was something that was an afterthought. And it's nice to have that little thing to add to what we do. And of course, we have it all planned out.
Right.
Some of it's for contingencies like that, but some of it's for, you know, so much of it goes to this school. It's been tremendous because we've been able to, you know, get more devices in the students' hands, so it's been great.
Well, it is a double-edged sword because the more technology you add to the district and the more the teachers are using it and the more the students are using it for interactive lessons and things, there's more support that's needed. And I know the technicians have certainly felt that over the last few years, the increased demand on supporting devices.
Right, it certainly is, but it's getting a little bit easier. It is a double-edged sword, but it's getting a little bit easier with the cloud-based technology that we're using, and we've recently increased the internet speeds around the district, and that helps a lot because a lot of our complaints are kids just can't work together because everybody's on it. You know, if you picture being at home and picture 300 people trying to get on your wireless at home.
Yep.
It's terrible.
Right.
You wouldn't go anywhere with it.
Right, and then we have to increase the bandwidth.
Yeah, so we keep increasing it, and it's working great.
Right.
So.
Good. Good. Well, I hear some wonderful things happening at Kennett Middle School, and keep up the good work, and we appreciate you coming to the show today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
At this point, we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to have representation from the elementary schools letting us know about technology use in elementary schools. So we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ian McDonald. I'm president of New Hampshire Parent-Teacher Association. We work with all the PTAs in the state of New Hampshire. If you want information on starting a PTA in your school or your community, you can go to our website at nhpta1.org, or you can email me at nhptamacdonald@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to our continued discussion on technology use in our schools. Now we're going to be moving to the elementary level, K-6, for a discussion on how it's utilized in the K-6 classroom. I'd like to welcome Kristen Groves from the Jackson Grammar School, Jimmy Emery from the Josiah Bartlett Elementary School, and Krista Bechet from Pine Tree Elementary School. Welcome, everyone. Kristen, could you start us off just by talking about iPads and iPods and how those are utilized in a primary classroom?
Sure. The iPods and the iPads are terrific in a primary classroom. I have about a half dozen iPods and I have 2 iPads in my class, and they're great. They're just the right size for small hands. They're really easy for my students to navigate. They're able to open them up and get right to work. When I was working just with the PCs, we were able to do some great stuff, but it was pretty teacher heavy on getting the kids set up. I needed to get them turned on and get the kids to just the right place, and I needed to be there with them. With the iPads, I'm able to teach them how it works, and then each day forth, they're able to just get on them themselves and do it without my help. It's really been terrific for that. I don't know if you want to jump in, if you have anything to add, or...
We've just started this year as well, and we found that immediately going right on instead of waiting for things to turn on, and the kids knowing, yep, I go right there, and off they go, and they've started learning just like that. It really works well for us as well.
It's really been great.
So children are really at a younger and younger level coming with the basic technology skills, so there's no fear anymore like us old people.
Right.
They just jump on and they're ready to utilize them in their lessons.
Yeah, they know just what to do. And another great thing with the iPads is because apps are very inexpensive, expensive. You're able to purchase them for very specific needs. So you're able to look at the needs of your classroom, and you can find an app that is just right for that. So, you know, I have apps in there for practicing math facts. I have apps for practicing spelling, for phonemic awareness, for letter ID, all these very basic core concepts that kindergarten and first graders need to master. In my grade level, I'm able to get apps for them to practice.
Sure. Now, Krista, could you tell us a little bit about the technology committee that's been formed at Pine Tree? Why was it formed, and what's being accomplished?
Sure. Amy Frechette, our principal at Pine Tree, has been doing a good job at making technology the focus, and so she formed a technology committee this year, and in addition to that, she made sure that each staff member had a technology goal that they were focused on through the year. And as a starting point for our technology committee, we decided to look at grade level expectations for students, because technology is always changing. So we went right to the most recent national standards for technology, and we're looking at all documents from many other schools. And what we're trying to do is look at where are these technology skills being introduced, where are they developing, and where do we expect them to be independent. And the whole goal is that when we send them to Kennett Middle School, these students are able to use technology as a tool in their learning. And so what do students go forth from elementary knowing that they're proficient with word processing skills, they're able to make a digital image from scratch, they're doing multimedia presentations, they're doing a lot of communicating and collaborating in a digital way, and they're really getting a great introduction to being digital citizens, a lot of safety, responsibility, internet research, all those things, so that we hope by starting there and reviewing where our students are progressing from kindergarten to 6th grade, that they're really leaving prepared, and that might be a jump-off point to see where we need to develop as a staff, and what our needs are with our equipment and such.
And I know that professional development is so very important, because if we're going to be infusing technology into our lessons and making it seamless for our kids, the staff needs to be utilizing professional development to make sure that they're up with the latest technology as well.
If I could add to that, when we got some technology in from some of our grants, we found to be the biggest thing that made anything successful was to be able to have that professional development. And we quickly learned if people don't know how to use it, then they really can't, and they're not comfortable.
Right.
And actually having someone to come in and work with you during the day using that equipment and with the kids was really successful. So that's important.
That modeling
Absolutely.
is so great when someone is comfortable with something and they can come in and model it for a classroom. That's where I feel we make our biggest jumps.
Right, because at that point the students are learning to apply it to what they're learning, and the teacher at the same time is learning how to apply it better to their instruction. So that's a win-win. Absolutely. Jimmy, could you talk a little bit about Net Day? What is Net Day?
Okay, that was kind of like for us where we got started, and it was like a lot of lead-up time. You know, we went to a couple of kind of like conferences and stuff in the southern part of the state from different teams in our building. And what it was a day when the community came in, and all of the staff in the community, it wasn't during a school day, came in and we wired the whole building. So what happened was we had an internet provider come in, and they kind of gave instruction like how to make these patch cords, the wires that go from the computer into the wall so you can get the signals. And so it was fun because you go through, and we were walking through the halls, and you'd see people up in the ceilings and all of the things were coming down. And in the cafeteria we had a big group of people, and they were all sitting there. There's little tiny things you put on the end of a cord to make it hook in. So everybody's like going in here with these 6 little things trying to put them in. And it was just it was like an awesome day, because when we were finished, it was like, it's just that warm, fuzzy feeling. This was about 15 years ago, we had about 50 people come in. We had a lot of our businesses donate funds to help us to purchase the things we needed, like little tools to make those things. And we had people all in different ways, like some of the restaurants brought us soup, and I can't say how much fun and how enjoyable and how many laughs there were from the day. And then pretty soon after that, we got a grant, and that's when we then had our lab begin, and it started us moving. And one of the things I remember the most is going from my room to different places in the building, like upstairs and downstairs and in the other wing, and all of a sudden you could email people. It's like, oh my goodness, I can just email, and people can get my information, and I'm not like running back and forth. But I think with that community support, I know that community support, that was like our beginning.
Right.
Before we were here, there was an apple, those old apples, and now we became connected all together as a school, and we were really, really happy. We had so much support for that. So yeah, that was what Net Day was. It's basically, at that time, it was a New Hampshire thing, and you could go through and get your whole building wired. And to this day, we are still using those wires that those people helped us to run up through the ceilings.
Right.
So we thank them very much for that.
There's a lot of community ownership when you do a program like that.
Oh, yeah.
In the last segment, I talked a little bit about how supportive Conway voters have been passing the $75,000 warrant article over a number of years. And I know Bartlett has been passing a technology warrant article for a number of years
Yes,
that's been
and,
very supportive.
If I could say thank you to that, that's what's kept us going. By that money that they've brought in for us, it's kept us so that we can, I kind of like our baseline going, and then if we're lucky and we get grants, we can kind of go to the next
Sure.
levels. But if we didn't have the community support, we wouldn't get the grants, because all of the grants say, do you have people that support you in what you're doing?
Matching
And
grants.
when we go in and vote each year and feel that support, it feels really good that they are happy with what we're doing, and we appreciate it, because we couldn't do what we are without them.
Sure, sure. Now, Kristen, you talked a little bit about iPads and a little bit about some apps that are free or very inexpensive. What are some other ways that you're using these with your students? Some other things that are technology in your classroom?
Well, we use the iPads in a number of different ways. And also in my classroom, I have a smartboard, which has been wonderful. I use it almost every day with my everyday math program. So the lessons are smartboard ready, and so I'm able to give a lesson and have the children really interacting with the lesson in a large area, a large space.
Could you just briefly explain what is a smartboard?
I'm still trying to figure that out. When they put it in, I told all of the kids it was a time machine, because that's kind of what it looks like. But it makes my whiteboard interactive, and it makes it so it's still a whiteboard when we're not using the smartboard. But when we are, we have these magic pens, and the kids can actually go up and manipulate things on the smartboard. So let's say we're doing a lesson on shapes. We can go up there and the kids can move them around. They can make patterns right up there on the board.
Sure.
And it's because all of the kids can see it. It's not me demonstrating on the carpet where the kids are sort of crawling over each other and trying to look. They're all able to see it, and they're all able to participate a lot more. So that's been really terrific.
So it is a time machine.
There's probably that function in there. Absolutely, I haven't found it yet. We have a couple programs on the PCs that we use every day. I have a math program that is right at the kids' level, and it's been fantastic for their numeracy and their number sense, and really getting them to have a very deep understanding of numbers, and the kids love playing it. And then with the iPads, and I integrate these into a number of different lessons throughout the day. In reading groups with my emergent readers, one of the things that new readers need to do is they need to practice reading books over and over and over. They're still trying to master basic sight words, and so we're able to actually create audiobooks on the iPad so the kids can photograph the book, read the words, and then we can turn it into a little movie. They can then listen to themselves, read the story and read along, or they can share it with a friend. That's been really great. There's a wonderful program called Explain Everything, and you really can explain everything using this program. And this year I had my kids do when we were doing informational writing, we researched sharks. And so we went on a database on the PCs, and we each researched a different shark. So there was a small group, they researched a shark, and they were able to do that completely independently without my help, because it was a database meant for, young kids.
Sure.
And then they went on Explain Everything, and they created these amazing research reports that I was able to put up on the website for their parents to see. And again, on the iPad, I didn't need to help them. They went and they did it on their own. They were videotaping their work. They were recording their audio. They had created a storyboard, and they used it to create a report online. And it was really a really neat process, seeing these little groups of kids in each corner of the room huddled over their work and producing some amazing stuff. So that's been really great.
Well, I know that's something that we've always said is we want self-directed learners. We want to create self-directed learners that are empowering them to take charge of their own learning. So it
Right.
sounds like that's a great tool for
Yeah.
those kids to use.
It's been fantastic.
And it's also a very nice tool for parents to get involved and assist their kids in their learning, and also view some of the work and help them that way. They can see what's going on in the
Absolutely.
classroom. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Krista, can you talk a little bit about technology changes so rapidly? How are the teachers at Pine Tree keeping up with part of that?
It is overwhelming how fast it changes. So we're learners as teachers all the time, but you can't learn everything yourself. So one of the ways we've been keeping up as a staff is once a month, on one Wednesday a month, we get together and staff share their strengths and their technology experiences. And this year, a lot of that time is focused around the Google Apps environment and getting everybody on the staff proficient with using that to collaborate and share with each other. And we have some staff using it. Actually, their lessons go in the Google Calendar, and the whole team that works with that grade level is able to see the lessons and know exactly what's happening when.
Now, what is in Google Apps? You say Google Apps.
Yes,
What is it,
so-
and how do you use it? I mean, I know it's very
Yeah,
broad.
So Google Apps has a ton of programs in it, and it's in the cloud, so you can access it anywhere you are. So our students are able to access their Google Apps at home, and the staff is able to use it at home as well, or anywhere they are. There's a word processing program, there's drawing programs, there's a calendar, and that's what I was speaking about before, that can be shared between people. One class has a website where they have a homework calendar that appears on the website, so the parents and students can see what the homework is there. So
Again, coming
yeah.
back to getting parents involved and really empowering them and the kids to take charge of their own learning.
Right. So yeah, so I think that sharing with each other has really helped us keep moving forward, and it's fun to hear everybody's strengths. Peg Haran, who she was runner-up for Teacher of the Year, and she got some prize money, and with her prize money she bought some document cameras for
nice.
and we have one per grade level now, and the excitement with the staff and all the different ways they're using the document cameras have been neat. Students walking up and sharing their writing on them, to some people using them to actually film a lesson that's
Sure.
happening that students can then come back to. So I think we learn the most from each other, and like Jimmy was saying, those modeled lessons, and say, hey, can you come in and show me that? Can you do it with my students? And that's what I think is helping us move forward as a staff and keep
Sure.
up.
Now, are the three of you seeing, naturally we like kids to be so excited about what they're learning that they'll do it at home, do it in the evening, do it on the weekends. Are you finding that utilizing technology in this way is extending the classroom walls?
Absolutely. Today, one of the kids I had in my class said, "Can I do this at home?" And I said, "Sure, all you got to do is go on the web, you've got your login, and you can work on it, you can show your parents." And many, many times, especially when we show them a new online program and give them their own account, they're like, "Can I do this at home?" And they really do. They want to go home and do it because it's like, it's fun, even though, you know, all of your content and the curriculum, you're trying to get it across. And they think of it as more like, "Oh, well, this is a great way to spend my evening." I'm like, wow, this works.
That's right.
But there are a lot of different apps that you had mentioned and a bunch of different learning education programs that are exciting for kids, and sometimes they don't think of it as learning, but they're applying those skills, which is really exciting.
It's huge. It's tremendous when you think about it.
Right,
what
absolutely.
they're doing.
And you know, so many parents right now have some sort of a tablet, whether it's a smartphone, whether it is an iPad or a Kindle or whatever it is. This is technology that parents have and that is becoming more and more prevalent in the homes of our kids. They know how to use it. And there's so much great educational stuff out there. I know on my classroom website I do have a list of the apps that we use in school, and none of these are things that you need to go through a teacher catalog to get. They're not, you know, on the district network. These are things that parents can find on their own, and
like you said, they can get them for
Right.
$1.99 or
Exactly.
free.
Exactly.
And they're wonderful
Right.
for education.
yeah.
So if there's any question that parents might have on, is there an app to utilize MathFacts? Is there an app to extend writing or reading? I would assume that they can contact any of you or their teacher or anybody in the building, and we can steer them in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And I know that the professional development piece that we constantly talk about, teachers are learning new apps and new applications of utilization of technology almost on a daily basis. Things come up. Unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time in this segment. Please join us next time on Inside Mount Washington Valley as we continue with the elementary school utilizing technology at the elementary level and move into the middle school and high school utilization of technology as well. So once again, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. And we'll start off the next show with the elementary and then move into the middle and high school. Once again, thank you for joining us on Inside Mount Washington Valley Education. Welcome everyone to Inside Mount Washington Valley. This program was developed to provide information on educational programming throughout Mount Washington Valley. This is a second part of a series of shows that we've been running on technology utilization in our schools. I'm Bob Godomsky. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Schools for SAU 9, and I welcome you to the show. Today we're going to start off by talking a little bit about technology utilization at the elementary level, K-6, finishing off what we did in our last show, and then move on to technology utilization in the middle school and high school. I'd like to again welcome Kristen Groves from from Jackson Grammar School, Jimmy Emery from Josiah Bartlett Elementary School, and Krista Boucher from Pine Tree Elementary School. So thank you very much for joining me again. Jimmy, could you start us off a little bit by talking about technology skills for students and what does that offer our community?
Well, I like that question because if we talk about the kids saying from 8th grade when they leave Josiah Bartlett, and if you think about what could they actually step out of the building and do with technology, and I was thinking about it, I kind of put together a little notes here for myself to remember, but let's say, for instance, you have a real estate business, then they could create a virtual tour of a building for you so that you could go in and show your customers what the building looks like because they know how to do that. They could create a business brochure, and in fact, a few years back, we created some brochures for the businesses in our community. They can do bookkeeping in a kind of smaller way, because they can do spreadsheets, they can do the formulas, they can create the charts for the visual graph afterwards to explain it to the customers. They could create a video for a nonprofit, because our nonprofits do a lot for our schools. We can, right now we're creating in one of our classes public service announcements, and I was thinking, wouldn't that be a great thing at the hospital to create a public service announcement about some of the health issues? And we're doing that in an online program that's kind of like a comic book, so it would really relate to the kids, to their specific issues. Our Bartlett Historical Society, I think it's really important for something like that, that we can scan those old documents. So they have the documents, but then they have a working copy that they can use and show, put into slideshows, put into videos, talk about the town. The restaurants, they would be able to, we had talked earlier about a Google Apps. You can create a website. They could create a website for a business, and then the business could then maintain it and update it for them. And then the final thing that's kind of fun is our kids have kind of gotten into robotics this year, and we have some, I really believe there's a couple of the kids in the school that could walk out our door and actually go into a business and do programming for some of the businesses in the valley. And those are kind of some of the things I was thinking, what could our kids do as they walk from ours into the high school or into the business? And kind of, in a way, putting it out there, if you needed our help, we'd love to have projects like that. We like to do things like that, because then it has meaning, it has real-world applications, and it feels good when you get done that, hey, I as a kid have an impact in my community. So those are some of the things we were thinking of.
Right, so real life applications. We constantly strive to do lessons in the classroom that will allow kids to apply them in real life situations. So those are some great examples. How about taking it kind of to the next level of how is technology helping us with parent involvement or public relations or getting information out to the community?
In the 5th grade, we have a class website that, as I said before, has our homework posted, updated on there. It has links for parents and kids, resources involved. And my kids, it's the go-to place, and then for parents too, if they're not sure what's going on in a particular week, it's where they go. So that's one way we've been communicating with families.
Sure. And you had touched a little bit on getting parents involved and having them utilize some of the technology with their children.
Right. I like to provide parents with the information about the technology that we use in the classroom. So if they do choose to use it at home, they know what we're doing, and they can be consistent with their kids. So I do have links to what we use in the classroom on my website. Which is, of course, through the Jackson Grammar website. Another really neat thing we've been doing is we've been doing something called STEAM Blast, which STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we've been doing some class projects, multi-age, mixing up the groups. But part of what we're doing is we're having children document what we're doing. So we did a project where they needed to create a paper airplane and get it to fly fast and far and straight and hit a target. But the kids documented it using photos and video, and then they used the documentation and created a movie about what we had done, which we then can show to the parents at a school community meeting. So they really get a picture of what the kids are doing in the classroom.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's created by the kids.
That's terrific.
It's been great.
That's terrific. Could you talk a little bit about utilizing technology for assessments? How are we utilizing technology to actually assess the kids and you know, do more authentic assessment with technology?
We've been testing our students for quite a while, and you know, at first you think to yourself, oh, this is just all about having the kids test. But what we found is we start in kindergarten, because one of the ones that we use speaks to the children, and they just put the headsets on and they ask the questions, and because the kids have an opportunity to use the computers in the building, you know, they just click. So it's something that they're quite capable of. And what happens is, when we first started, really it was like, oh man, more testing. But what we immediately saw was they gave us information that specifically told us, tomorrow, you can do this with the kids and it will help them. This is specifically what you could do to make it better for them. And I remember having a conversation with the librarian when we were going over the data, and I said, would you have thought, because those particular those two girls, you wouldn't know that they had that skill that they needed work on, because you know they always work so hard and so diligently, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, now we know that we can really help them. And I think that's the beautiful thing. When you get the information back immediately, then you can help those kids right now, and you don't have to wait a month or two. And that's what we've found, at least with our assessments. It's truly a tool to help, and it's not just another test that takes away from time. It has great value.
It makes our teaching time more effective because we
Absolutely,
know
yes.
exactly what we're going to do. We have the longer term assessments that are powerful to know what, as a group, what we need to enrich more in our classroom, but we have some shorter term assessments, like with our accelerated math and Khan Academy. We can look and see these 5 children aren't getting this math skill, so tomorrow this mini lesson's going to happen, or I'm going to
Right.
reteach that, and then the next day I can look at the data and see how that mini lesson affected the children's success and where we go from there. So
Another great thing about that is not only can you individualize it, you can do it as a class. So for instance, if we're doing a lesson plan for a group coming in, because I'm in Unified Arts, so we don't have them every day, then we know, for instance, oh, okay, this group will do this type of a lesson with this concentration because they'll be able to do that. And it will be, you know, we always use these words, but it's true, it will challenge them, but it's not going to bore them. And that way you know as a class, okay, so if I set up these 3 things and still get the content area and they're still learning all they have, then they're going through and they are, I think, because they're feeling successful, because they are like, oh, I can do that. And it works as a classroom as well as individualized too, so it helps.
So it sounds like technology from kindergarten through grade 6 is really being utilized. It's growing every day. It's changing every day. It's exciting kids and giving teachers more tools in a timely way to really make a difference in educating children. As with anything else, we certainly encourage parents to monitor the screen time that kids are getting. It should be a reasonable amount every day, along with getting outside and playing and being healthy and active with their friends as well. So certainly keep that in mind. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to the middle school and high school and application of technology in those areas. So thank you very much for joining me today, and we'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Christine with Project Succeed. Project Succeed is Conway School District's before and after school program. We have programs at all 3 of the Conway elementary schools. We run the hour before school starts and the 2 hours after school ends, and we offer homework club enrichment activities every single day. We've been in operation since 1999, and we've been helping working families ever since. So if you'd like more information about our programs, please go to www.projectsucceed.com or call 447-6158.
Welcome back as we continue our discussion on technology use at the middle school and high school level. I'd like to welcome Rick Bechet, Keith Osborne, and Jimmy Emery. Thank you for coming back. Rick, could you start us off a little bit by talking about how is technology being utilized at the middle school?
Well, in the broadest sense, I guess it's being used everywhere and throughout the day. I mean, it's integrated through most everything that we do. You know, if we take a look and narrow that down to just the students, for the most part, in the beginning, they're using technology to enhance their learning across all the different subject areas and in all of the classes. You know, a good example, I think, is if we take the idea of research, which is certainly nothing new. We've all written back before computers were there. The term paper, you take the notes on the cards, you type it up, you go through drafts. And that whole process, the critical thinking that's involved in coming up with an idea, topic, and pulling together data on it, and then eventually writing that up and synthesizing. That whole process, there's so many different new tools out there that allow us to accentuate different parts of that, to really help kids to build some of those critical thinking skills, build skills at gathering data and organizing it, and how to present it. So I think those are some really good opportunities for kids as they go through. With the internet and everything that's available on there, again, thinking back to, when I was younger, what did I have?
Back in the olden days.
I had an encyclopedia, and if I was lucky, I might have two. So the sources were so limited in what they offered that I'm sure that if I had taught then, every single paper would have looked exactly the same because you have the same two sources. But now kids need to be able to apply a lot of different thinking skills to be able to sort through the different sources that are out there. And it's entirely possible that critical thinking process for one student and another student will be completely different on the same exact topic. And that kind of lends itself to collaboration, where kids working on the same ideas, the same topics, can find completely different avenues to how they get this information, getting different information, and using technology to offer collaboration beyond just who you're sitting next to in class, but also outside of the class, so across teams. So we have teams in the middle school, and we can have projects where kids are collaborating with students on other teams, so not physically in the same place or even working at the same time. Google Apps, which I know you talked about in an earlier session, offers a lot of that, as well as collaboration outside of that. We've had at least one project this year where students were collaborating with research scientists from State University of New York, ESF, and creating some products there. So take that research product, and that's demonstrating learning. There's so many different ways that you can do that besides the typed paper and besides the PowerPoint, which is also, just another way of presenting stuff. And kids are producing videos, audio casts, working on websites, a whole slew of things.
Some of the products that the kids are coming up with are just absolutely amazing. They look like professional productions when they present the material. It still comes back to good understanding of content, but they internalize it better when they can demonstrate it in a variety of different ways. And I would imagine in a district, SAU like SAU 9, where you've got kids all the way from Freedom in Madison all the way up to Bartlett and Jackson, I would assume that there's opportunities for kids at Bartlett Elementary School and Kennett Middle School to be collaborating on projects.
Oh, absolutely. The science fair, and if I can put in hopefully this airs before the 9th, put in a quick plug for that, which is coming up next Thursday on the 9th, the Valleywide Science Fair. Yeah. But prior to that, the middle school, and this is both Kennett Middle School and from Bartlett, Joe Yano, who's a science teacher up there, we have been collaborating on that science fair using an online collaborative space for, I think, 4, if not 5 years that we've been doing that. So students can communicate with each other, view projects that others are doing, leave feedback, receive feedback. So they have that, which is a great opportunity for them to have not only a shared experience before joining each other at the high school, but to be able to see what is the full scope of
Sure.
what kids are doing here. So excellent collaboration, yes, outside of the building as well.
Right, great. So how about at the high school, Kennett High School? I know this is a global question, but how are kids and staff using technology at Kennett High School?
Yeah, it is a big question. I asked a bunch of colleagues there, how are things going? What are you doing with this? Beyond the obvious, there's a robotics program there. In the art classes, there's animation, there's web design, all that sorts of stuff.
So the robotics program, you bring that up. That's not the Tinker Toys robotics that I had when I was a kid, with some little batteries in it. And what is the robotics program?
Well, Dan MacLeon runs that. I don't know a lot about it, but the few times I've been in there to visit, they have students learning how to program and how to move, things that move on their own in a certain way.
So programming, doing the programs and building the robots and A to Z, the whole thing.
Yes, actually I went in there to borrow something from Dan, and he asked one of his students, and there was his after-school program, and he said, hey, can you have your robot come over here, grab that, and send it over to Mr. Osborne. You know, we're just kind of waiting there, and it was great. He went over there, Dan put it in, the kid turned the robot around, raised it up to the hand. I think there was a fumble there, you know, in between, but
Right.
you know, they're making things move with programming language, which is really exciting.
Right. Other ways that technology is utilized in the high school?
Yeah, well, there's, like I said, there's so much going on, but it seems that the real common theme is having that the hub of the class is kind of changing from that, you know, static textbook and binders to a class website where teachers can, well, really, teachers, students, and their families can access and see what's happening in those classes. So I can provide a couple of examples. I know in Spanish, they have websites for that. They include some assessments on there, formative assessments. In economics courses, they do that, as well as a math class I'm involved in. There are other teachers that are experimenting with flipping the class, which is changing the traditional format of you receive the instruction at this time and you do the homework at this time, which is usually at night and on your own, to some turning it around and saying, I'm going to help you with all the homework and stuff during class, and you're going to listen to this video of that instruction piece when you can outside of class.
So again, extending the learning opportunities for kids.
Yeah, it's going way beyond you know, our concrete walls there at the high school. But it does seem like the website seems to be kind of that centerpiece where people can get to from all different places.
I had a discussion with John Judge last year, and he was showing me Kia and Dropbox and all of the wonderful things that he was utilizing that for, and just, again, extending the learning opportunities for kids. One of the things that I found fascinating was if students are absent from school, now a lot of the lessons are taped, they're online, they can access them at home, they can access them after class. Wonderful opportunities to really extend.
If I could add into that, one of the things that we had at school that I thought was extremely helpful is Skype, which is a way to video. And one of our students was going to be out ill for a couple of months. So at home and in the school, they did Skype so that the student could be at home and participate in the ongoing activity at school.
Sure.
So for all of that time, and his classmates were able to stay connected, and it was like a real gift, because before that, think about how that would have been, and now that student that whole time was involved.
Right. Some great opportunities.
I had a similar example when Jason Sisser and I went, and Greg Toller went to Burlington High School in Massachusetts, and the now assistant superintendent was talking about their one-to-one movement. Every student has an iPad in the high school. And when they were first doing it, he was going through classes, and he kind of came upon a student who had their iPad turned this way, away from what was going on, and there was a student on there, so the FaceTime, and they were communicating, and he said he snuck up, and he's like, hey, so what are you doing? Thinking he got her. And she's like, oh, this is so-and-so. She's homesick today, but she still wanted to work on the group project. And he said that was a real turning point for him, in saying, wow, you know, these guys will take care of business when it's appropriate and engaging.
Right, absolutely.
That's excellent. So the friend was doing it for
Yes, yeah.
That's
for the other
really
student.
nice.
Yeah.
Empowering kids
Wanting
to
to
take
learn.
charge of their learning. That's what we strive for. Rick, how about communication? How does technology help us with communication within the school and certainly outside of the school walls?
Well, sure. I think, you know, the easiest answer there, of course, is that we have email and we can get messages out to people right away. But we've recently implemented email for our students as well. And as a result of that, teachers are able to keep students up to date. If they can't Skype in, if they can't be a part of a conference and they miss stuff, we can send that. Another excellent piece of that has been really opening up the communication that often happens between parents and a teacher, but to be able to bring that student in on that as well. So these emails are going in all three directions at the same time, and that's definitely had some really good results. As for example, parents ask me, you know, what can a student do to, you know, bring up their grade, and the answer goes out to both, and then pretty soon, before we know it, both the parents and I are pleasantly surprised that the kid got right on it
Right.
and did it because they had that information. But beyond that, I think the online grading is a fantastic piece that's in place. That really gives parents a lot of power to be able to see what's going on. We keep our grades up to date there.
So you don't have to wait for report cards.
You don't have to
anymore.
wait for report cards. I mean, the report card now, and we actually do progress reports right now, which is just a part way through that send those home. But you know, once those go out in the mail, they're out of date, just like that. You know, report card's different because grades close. But yeah, that's a fantastic way. And right in there, they can click on you know, the assignment with a low grade. What was it? Get some information about it. Potentially even get some of the materials depending on the type of assignment it was. Sure. Quickly contact teachers about that. But also for students, that's incredibly powerful. So instead of the question that you often get as a teacher, what can I do to bring my grade up? You just get the stuff that is needed because it's right there. They have the information available to them. So that's great. And of course we have websites, has been mentioned by others. If you've got, you know, a good school website, provides a ton of information, as well as links to the grading and all that stuff. But class websites and specific project-based websites for the different projects. I know social studies has a number of specific websites that they use for all of that. So that really helps out a lot, gets the information out, everyone knows what's going on.
Sure. As we're talking about websites, if you go to www.sau9.org, you'll see links to all of our schools. And then at the school websites, they have oodles of information on there about programs and what's going on in school. So that's a wonderful place to start. Keith, could you talk a little bit about iPads? What are they and what's going on with those?
Well, maybe I could just start with what it's not. It's definitely not, you know, a netbook. You see a lot of netbooks in the past. They're almost phased out. It's not a laptop. You can see it's not big. And it's not a smartphone. You see some students, you know, and yourself with a small device. It's kind of in between all of those things, and it's very portable. You know, so I think of like the function of a portable device. And so I had to look up, because I'm curious about how much it actually weighs. And they're less than 1.5 pounds, you know, so you put the cover on that, maybe you're up to 2 pounds. And so, you know, you could use that as how do you keep all your stuff together rather than this massive backpack.
A 30-pound
that you haul
backpack.
up and down 3 sets of stairs. You know, even myself, I travel throughout the building, and I used to carry a big bag with my computer and my papers and this and that. And now it's this. You know, on a few days, it's a few random papers here and there, but it's this. So I think of that from that professional perspective. And Jason Cicero and I have been experimenting with iPads in the class for each of the students in 2 of our math classes. And we've had mixed results with that, which was kind of surprising to us. We were really excited. And we've kind of found out that it's not just a quick, easy switch from the way that we've done things traditionally to the ways we were asking them to do things then. Like it was mentioned in an earlier session about Explain Everything.
Right.
That's a great example of an app for an iPad that costs $3. And it's applicable from kindergarten all the way, even before kindergarten, all the way through college, you know, and beyond. And so those are the things that Jason and I are finding are valuable. It's not necessarily a math-specific thing, but things that are applicable across a wide range of skills and demonstrating those skills and documenting those skills. There's a lot of other pieces to it. The things that just come built into it. A student who has difficulty reading, you can select the text, it will play it back to you. For students with vision, you can make the screen bigger, make the words bigger instantly just with a flick of your fingers. And if we have time, I can still give you a quick rundown of an example from our math class.
Sure, go ahead.
So in our geometry class, say we were talking about quadrilaterals, and we have this free app on here that's like a satellite imagery thing. Mm-hmm. So we say, okay, today we're going to use this. So they have to learn how to use, a satellite imagery thing. It wasn't Google Earth. And we're going to kind of zero in on North Conway Village. Mm-hmm. And in North Conway Village, if you look at it from above, there are trapezoids, there are almost rectangles, those sorts of things. So we're talking about area and perimeter of those things. So with that, we were able to bring that right in, to their backyard. And then we're asking, well, how big are these blocks? And how big is that block compared to that block? And once they do all that stuff and they do the math there, and then we're asking them to, you can take pictures of what's on your screen. Then you can put them in video projects. So we had students talking about different blocks and, recording how they got their calculations or how they used the tools to find the information that they were looking to share with their other classmates. And then the last piece of that is, we can put that stuff up on our website. Sure. And their parents can see it and say, wow, it's
Which really personalizes,
neat,
personalizes
Right,
the learning. I mean,
right.
it really makes it exciting for kids rather than looking in a textbook and seeing something that may be across the country or across the world.
Right, right.
So that's exciting. Well, we're starting to run out of time, unfortunately. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining me today. Thank you very much. And again, if you would like to see this show or any of the other shows on Inside Mount Washington Valley, if you go to www.sau9.org, you'll see Inside Mount Washington Valley as one of our links. And you can view all of the past shows. Also, a lot of information on that website on all of our schools, from policies all the way up to individual school websites. So please access that as well. Once again, thank you for joining us on Inside Mount Washington Valley Education, and we'll see you next time.